I've been homeless for about 20 years.
You're out here homeless.
Yes. It's what I'm able to do right now because I'm homeless, and you can't. In reality, you can't really have a real job when you're homeless. You don't have nowhere to take a shower. You don't have, you know what I'm saying? Or it's the reality of it.
Nestled in the heart of downtown Los Angeles, Skid Row stands as a profound reminder of the fragile edges of the American dream, a 50-block mosaic of resilience and grace where the city's pulse beats strongest among its most overlooked residents. Emerging in the late 19th century as a bustling industrial zone over the decades, it transformed into a sanctuary for those swept away by life's currents, families down on their luck, veterans carrying invisible burdens, and dreamers whose paths took unexpected turns. By the 1932nd, it had become a haven of affordable rooms, missions, and mutual support, evolving into a vibrant community hub by the mid-20th century, despite the challenges that shadowed its streets. Today, amid the hum of daily survival, you'll find unbreakable bonds forged in shared meals at soup kitchens and stories swapped under flickering lights. Proof that even in hardship, human connection blooms like wildflowers through concrete. But how did this once vibrant area become a symbol of despair? What are the untold stories of those who call Skid Row home? These questions lead us deeper into exploring not only the present struggles, but also the underlying issues that have plagued this community for decades. In the sections to follow, we'll delve into the hardships faced by Skid Row residents, the systemic failures that have shaped their lives, and the hopeful initiatives that offer a glimmer of change. Join us as we uncover the harsh realities and brighter future of one of America's most complex neighborhoods. Beneath the heartbreaking scenes of tents and crowded sidewalks lies a quieter truth, one told through numbers. These figures don't just count people, they trace the rise and fall of lives swept up in the tide of homelessness in America. In 2025, the annual point-in-time count by LAHSA recorded a cautious decline in the overall homeless population across Los Angeles for the second straight year. Targeted housing efforts have helped many, yet in Skid Row, progress remains painfully fragile. Roughly 4,400 people now call this small downtown district home. While there has been some improvement in recent years, a 9% increase in the unsheltered population shows just how easily gains can slip away. Many now sleeping rough were displaced from neighborhoods like Hollywood and Venice after encampment sweeps. With nowhere else to go, they've moved deeper into Skid Row's overcrowded blocks. About 40% of those without shelter now sleep entirely exposed. No tents, no roofs, left vulnerable to brutal weather, violence, and disease. These statistics speak to more than just trends. They reveal the human cost of policy failure. Skid Row has long reflected the deeper inequalities of America itself. Black residents make up only 8% of Los Angeles County, but more than half of Skid Row's unhoused population, a result of decades of redlining and economic exclusion. Women, transgender people, and seniors are also becoming more visible here, often pushed into homelessness by domestic abuse, medical debt, or rent hikes that outpace fixed incomes. The state's Encampment Resolution Fund has poured millions into clearing camps and creating temporary beds, bringing momentary relief. Outreach teams have managed to reduce unsheltered numbers in certain areas. Still, cracks persist. The rise in rough sleeping shows how fragile progress becomes when funding fades or political momentum slows. If targeted spending can bend the curve, why hasn't the national safety net stepped up to make those changes permanent?
Make a difference, try to help the homeless people with food, medication.
Each number represents a life, a story, a fragile thread in a vast human tapestry. Skid Row statistics compel us to look past headlines and confront the harder questions. How long can stopgap measures hold back a rising tide? And what will it take to turn fleeting progress into real, lasting change? These fragile threads aren't mere data points. They belong to people with beating hearts and stories waiting to be heard. Let's listen to a few of them now. For all their precision, statistics often hide the heartbeat beneath, the quiet battles and faint flickers of hope that define life on the edge. In Skid Row, these aren't faceless crowds, but individuals whose paths intertwine into a fragile tapestry of endurance against being erased. Listen to the disabled mother, her words worn by 2 decades on these unforgiving streets, a life etched with grief and danger. Addiction once consumed her world, stealing her children in its fog. The drugs mattered more than losing them, she confesses, her voice cracking like parched ground.
I've been at Skid Row for 8 years, and I've been out here looking for him since then. I was trying to get in drug programs and straighten my life out and get things right, but I couldn't, I failed. And so they took him away from me. That's what happened. I went away to use the drugs, and I was about to lose my kids, and when I came back, I lost them. Yeah, and I knew I was about to lose them, but the drug was more important than losing at the time. And now I regret it.
Now she searches through old records and faint leads, chasing the fragile dream of reunion. A slipped disc turns every step into agony, binding her to frailty. Each night, she ties her walker to her arm with a tattered sleeping bag, her only defense against prowling thieves. She collapses outside storefronts after closing hours, a picture of stripped dignity, where even rest is rationed and safety never certain.
I grabbed this part right here at nighttime. I hold on to this and I tie my sleeping bag through it like this. And I hold this all night. But I tie it on my arm like this, so can't nobody get it from me. Yeah. Because I heard a lot of people that got their wheelchair stolen. I've seen a lot of people. And they just could sit there and do nothing but cry. Somebody came and helped them.
Then there's Luke, whose fall from stability to despair came with brutal speed, a betrayal after he and his wife crossed state lines, seeking family, only to find doors locked. Drawn to Skid Row's scarce lifelines, he describes a daily hell where survival carries a price. You pay to breathe here, he says, his corner taxed by phantom enforcers demanding tribute. Violence lurks behind every shadow. He's been attacked 13 times, his tents stolen just as often, possessions vanishing into the night. Exhaustion robs him of work. No sleep means no focus, no chance to rebuild. Branded by his surroundings, he's turned away from jobs, trapped in the same cycle that drives him deeper into despair. His wife's struggle adds another layer of heartbreak, harassment on the streets, and a devastating brain cancer diagnosis discovered during pregnancy. Luke's words carry the ache of a father's warning. Cherish family, the anchor they lacked when the tide pulled them under. These portraits, varied yet united in pain, crush the myth of the deserving poor. They span generations, from veterans scarred by war to workers undone by recession, from broken families to sudden misfortune. Days unfold in harsh rhythm, mornings jarred by garbage trucks, afternoons scavenging for scraps, nights lit by police flashlights. Yet even here, small sparks endure, a shared cigarette in silence, a mural painted with defiant color, reminders of human connection. Here lies homelessness in America, not a single tragedy but a fractured mosaic, each shard reflecting our shared unraveling. As their voices rise above the city's hum, we are left to wonder how many echoes will it take before they stir our collective will to change. On Skid Row, addiction isn't just part of the story. It is the story, shaping lives and shattering futures every single day. Here, substance use isn't a fleeting temptation, but a fight for survival, a trap that tightens with every hit. Fentanyl-laced opioids now dominate the streets, claiming more lives than car accidents in Los Angeles. Roughly 1 in 3 people living on Skid Row regularly use drugs or alcohol, and among those who return to homelessness after brief shelter stays, that number spikes even higher. Addiction is both cause and consequence. People use to dull their pain, yet the very drugs meant to numb them keep them trapped outside. The physical toll is brutal. Overdoses occur almost daily. Bodies are found slumped in doorways or alleys, sometimes revived by a stranger carrying naloxone, sometimes not. Long-term use invites infections like HIV and hepatitis C, painful abscesses, and severe malnutrition. Many sleep in fragments, their nights broken by withdrawal shakes. Hospitals report that people from Skid Row with addictions occupy a disproportionate share of psychiatric beds, creating a vicious loop where untreated addiction drains care systems and drives more people into crisis. But the deepest wounds aren't just physical. Addiction tears families apart, erodes trust, and isolates people until loneliness becomes their only companion. Trust is often the first casualty. Families lose savings, heirlooms, and relationships to the relentless pull of a habit. On the streets, addiction fuels theft and survival sex, not from desire, but desperation, leaving behind arrest records that close doors to housing and employment. One man's story shows how easily the slide begins. A former biology student, he was badly injured in a motorcycle crash that left him with titanium plates and chronic pain. Prescribed opioids for relief, He became dependent, and the drugs eventually consumed his life. Now, he lives in constant fear of withdrawal, his legs swollen and infected from repeated injections. "I don't get high anymore," he says softly. "I just try to feel normal. When it hits, it feels like the hand of God touches you." Addiction on Skid Row is a poison promise. It offers escape, but delivers deeper torment. Cheap synthetic drugs flood the streets, while real treatment stays painfully out of reach. For every 100 people who need help, fewer than one can access a program. Instead of building strong safety nets, the war on drugs has too often turned into a war against the addicted. This crisis demands a hard reckoning. In a nation of such wealth, why are so many still left to fight this alone? And how many more lives will we lose before we build solutions strong enough to stop the bleeding? Behind the tents and crumbling sidewalks of Skid Row lies a deeper story, one about the fractures in America's foundation. It's part of the larger reality of homelessness in America. What we see here isn't random or accidental. It's the outcome of decades of policy failures, neglect, and choices that have pushed ordinary people closer to the edge. At the heart of it all is a relentless housing crisis. In 2025, the median rent for a one-bedroom apartment in Los Angeles hovers near $2,500, swallowing entire paychecks. After the pandemic, eviction protections expired, remote work inflated housing demand, and working people, nurses, teachers, baristas, found themselves fighting just to stay housed. Federal housing aid is too slow and too limited. For every affordable unit built, several more vanish into high-end developments. But housing is only part of the story. Mental health struggles cut deep, affecting nearly a third of the unhoused population. The closure of psychiatric hospitals decades ago, coupled with today's endless therapy waitlists, left a void that was never filled. Veterans return with invisible wounds, and survivors of domestic violence, most often women of color, flee unsafe homes only to encounter shelters that can't protect them. Addiction takes root in these scars, not just from bad choices, but from trauma, poverty, and a lack of support when it's most needed. Another force behind Skid Row's growth is displacement. When city officials clear encampments in Hollywood or Venice, people don't vanish, they move. More often than not, they end up here, where services are concentrated but space is scarce. These sweeps, presented as public safety efforts, usually just shift the problem from one block to another. Policy failures thread through it all. Restrictive zoning laws choke affordable housing construction. Criminalizing homelessness deepens mistrust between residents and law enforcement. Climate disasters, like the wildfires that have ravaged California, displace more families into cities already at their breaking point. Meanwhile, billions flow into defense budgets and corporate contracts, while housing programs scramble for scraps. For most, homelessness doesn't arrive in one sudden collapse. It builds slowly through layoffs, medical debt, rising childcare costs, or a landlord's notice taped to the door. It's death by 1,000 cuts, delivered by a system too distracted to care. These aren't isolated crises. They're symptoms of deeper national wounds. Skid Row isn't just a neighborhood. It's a mirror reflecting America's unfinished work. And the question that lingers is this: how long can we keep patching the cracks before the entire foundation gives way? Amid the hardship, there are rays of hope breaking through the darkness. In Skid Row, the housing-first approach has moved from theory to proof, treating stable housing as the foundation for recovery, not a prize to be earned later. One major success is California's Encampment Resolution Fund, which invested $60 million into clearing encampments and placing people in safe housing. By 2025, nearly 2,000 individuals had transitioned into temporary shelters, and almost 1,000 secured permanent homes. These aren't just statistics. They're families reunited, veterans finally sleeping indoors, and individuals getting the second chance they deserve.
How long you been here?
See many more, and I'm just sitting here right now.
You don't have that much time left on this planet.
Another beacon of progress is Every Woman Housed, a program created to address the unique struggles faced by women and gender nonconforming individuals on the streets. Since 2021, it has placed over 1,200 women and 140 families into stable housing, keeping countless children out of the foster system. Local leaders have also stepped up. Under Hilda Solis, the LA County Board of Supervisors has helped thousands move into both permanent and interim housing, pairing shelter with mental health care, job training, and harm reduction support. Mobile clinics now deliver methadone, clean supplies, and medical care directly to encampments, while outreach workers serve as lifelines between despair and stability. These combined efforts are making an impact. RAND's 2024 LA Leads survey recorded a 14% overall drop in homelessness and a 22% decline in unsheltered homelessness within Skid Row. Legal advocates like the Inner City Law Center have also fought harmful policies in court, winning injunctions to halt destructive sweeps and give residents time to secure housing. These victories show that when funding, community action, and compassion come together, transformation is possible. As Hilda Solis said, each home built is a victory over the darkness. But the lingering question remains, will these rays of hope keep shining if the funding runs dry? Despite moments of progress, Skid Row remains a place where hardship clings like morning fog, thick, stubborn, and slow to lift. An increasing number of people now sleep entirely exposed, without even a tarp or tent for protection. Rough sleeping accounts for nearly 40% of the unsheltered, leaving many at the mercy of cold nights, violence, and illness. Their reality is merciless. Frostbitten hands in unexpected chills, assaults under dim streetlights, and lives quietly lost to neglect. The 2023 collapse of the Skid Row Housing Trust, once a lifeline for supportive housing, sent shockwaves through the community. Mismanagement and financial turmoil left hundreds of beds in limbo, exposing how fragile nonprofit safety nets can be when they depend on unstable funding and tangled bureaucracy. External pressures keep mounting. Encampment sweeps in Hollywood and Venice have driven more people towards Skid Row, overwhelming already strained services. Agencies often operate in silos, guarding data and failing to coordinate, leaving outreach teams to navigate blind. Meanwhile, ongoing sweeps erase what little stability people have. Tents flattened, belongings destroyed, lives scattered overnight. Then come the climate disasters. The wildfires of 2025 displaced hundreds, many seeking refuge in Skid Row's emergency centers, only to face overcrowded shelters and growing tensions. This collision of climate change, migration, and weak infrastructure has laid bare how unprepared the system truly is. On the streets, frustration simmers. Housing's the root, and an older man told the LA Times, "Not these sweeps that scatter us like roaches." A young Latina day laborer shared the same pain. They offer help with one hand and handcuffs with the other. These voices cut through the noise, revealing that Skid Row's obstacles aren't just about tents or laws. They're the sum of missed chances and misplaced priorities. Underfunded eviction prevention, gentrification driven by data algorithms, and the criminalization of poverty continue to trap people in the cycle. And so, one haunting question lingers. If we've glimpsed progress, why do the nights in Skid Row still feel so endless? Conclusion. Skid Row's future is far from fixed. Real change begins when reflection turns into action, when housing is recognized as a basic right, not a privilege, and when compassion replaces punishment. Expanding affordable housing, ending the criminalization of poverty, and using technology responsibly can create real, lasting impact. Every group, communities, policymakers, and citizens alike, has a part to play. Skid Row doesn't have to remain a symbol of despair. It can become a space for renewal, creativity, and shared purpose. The tools for change are already in our hands. The question is, when will we choose to use them? If this story resonated with you, share your thoughts in the comments and help spread awareness by sharing this video. Don't stop here. Discover more powerful stories from other homelessness hotspots across America on our channel. Your engagement helps keep the light shining where it's needed most.